My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, Leave No Vet Behind, and also I'm a United States Army veteran. Today I'm bringing you another educational video as it pertains to the VA disability compensation claims process. And today we're going to be talking about special monthly compensation, also known as SMC. But before we get started, I want to say I hope everybody is continuing to be safe during this whole COVID-19 pandemic, and you're adhering to all the social distancing guidelines. I understand a lot of states are opening a lot of businesses back up, which I think is a good thing and definitely will help the economy. So continue just to adhere to some of those guidelines and continue to be safe. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the educational video, which we're going to be discussing the SMC. Now, I'm not going to discuss all the SMCs. I'm going to focus on 3, but I will name all the SMCs that the VA uses, okay? So first, I'm going to put up on the screen the definition of SMC. And the definition in M21 reads, special monthly compensation is an additional level of compensation to veterans above the basic levels of compensation payable based on disability ratings of 0 to 100% for various types of anatomical losses or levels of impairment due solely to service-connected disabilities. So what they're saying is if you're service-connected at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, 90, 100%, SMCs are additional compensation tacked on to whatever benefit you're receiving. So let's just say you're service connected at 100% as a single veteran. That's roughly about $3,100 a month. And if you're service connected for SMCK, that's an additional $140. So they would tack that $140 onto the $3,100, which means you would be getting roughly $3,240 a month. So higher the SMCs, the more payout. I think the highest ones out there is like R1, R2. If a veteran is receiving that, those veterans are pretty much vegetables. They can't talk, they can't walk, they can't feed themselves, they can't speak, and that payout is probably anywhere like, I don't know, $7,500 to maybe $9,000, $9,500 a month. Okay, and they get other benefits like adaptive housing, adaptive vehicle equipment, because they have to be transported in a particular motorized chair. They have to have ramps going into their houses. They have to have special type bathrooms. So those vets get additional benefits outside of the regular monthly compensation, the SMCs, and then you have adaptive housing and adaptive vehicle equipment as well. Okay, so, but for today's purposes, we're going to be talking about 3 SMCs, SMCK, SMCS, and SMCL. SMCK is loss of use of a creative organ. SMCS is housebound, and SMCL is aid and attendance. But I want to give you a list or speak of the list of different SMCKs that the VA recognizes, okay? So you have SMCK, SMCO, SMCP, SMCN, SMCR, SMCM, SMCQ, SMCL, and SMCS. And all these can be found in the 38 CFR, and you can see how they break down the different criteria, okay? So for SMCK, that's the first one that we're going to start with, and I'm going to read out of my SMC book. I created this book when I first started training as a rating specialist, and as you can see, it's fairly kind of thin, but I have all the SMCs tabbed here, so whenever I was doing a rating, I can refer to this and not have to waste time, looking at it digitally online. And it's always updated raters and rating specialists and decision review officers, they use the SMC calculator because these can be very difficult to compute, especially if they're temporary, because you have to figure out the start date, you have to figure out the end date. If there's hospital codes, does it end or continue if the veteran is hospitalized? So there's a lot of things that come into play when raters, DROs are putting together the SMCs, okay? So for SMCK, the criteria is loss of use of a hand, not plural, it says loss of use of a hand, loss of use of a foot, loss of use of both buttocks, and loss of use of a creative organ. Now, loss of use of creative organ was the one that I mostly saw, especially with males and females. Males, you're talking about erectile dysfunction, and females, we're talking about if they had partial hysterectomy or full hysterectomy, if they were missing one or two ovaries, okay? So that's loss of use of a creative organ, which was SMCK, okay? So now I'm going to go over SMCL, which is the aid in attendance, okay? And aid in attendance is the higher benefit between housebound and aid in attendance. So if you're talking housebound, aid in attendance is a greater benefit than housebound, okay? So for housebound, the criteria, loss of use of both feet, okay? And that even includes amputation, above or below the knee. You have to take that into consideration because the vet doesn't have any feet, obviously, if they have amputations above or below the knee. Again, that's when that SMC calculator that rating specialists and decision review officers use to calculate that. So it'll calculate the code for them to use to put in the rating code sheet, okay? So loss of use of both feet, loss of use of one hand and one foot. Remember that key word and. So it has to be both, one hand and one foot, loss of use, okay? And then the last criteria is permanently bedridden or aid in attendance. You'll see a lot of veterans that, they can't, they're not mobile, they're restricted. So that would be one of the qualifications. But one thing to remember, on the VA form 21-2680 for housebound and aid in attendance, when a vet is claiming aid in attendance, it has to be due to service-connected disabilities. Remember, I read the definition, the last sentence, it says due to service-connected disabilities. Now, let's just say the veteran puts on there 10 different conditions. 5 of them are service-connected and the other 5 is not. So now the rating specialist or the decision review officer, the DRO, they have to figure out which ones are prominent, which ones are like 51% criteria for aid in attendance, the non-service-connected conditions or the service-connected conditions. And if there's not enough evidence in the claim file, then they can order an exam and the doctor can make that, the examiner can make that determination, okay? So keep that in mind. If you put non-service-connected disabilities on the claim form and service-connected disabilities, they're gonna have to go out, they're gonna have to figure out are the conditions mainly due to the service-connected conditions or the non-service-connected conditions. And if it's mainly due to the non-service-connected conditions, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get denied for that particular benefit, okay? All right, so let me flip to housebound, okay? Now, housebound can be met 2 different ways, and I'm going to explain both, okay? So, SMC S, which is housebound, Additional service-connected disabilities, let me go back and read the first part of this. The SMCS rate is payable when there is a single 100% service-connected evaluation and any of the following conditions exist. Additional service-connected disabilities independently rated at 60% or more involving different anatomical segments or bodily systems. Okay, so what that means, that first part means is you have to have one service-connected condition at 100%, and the other conditions that you're service-connected for, they have to combine to 60% or more. Example, if you're service-connected for PTSD at 100%, and you're service-connected for the back at 40%, you're service-connected for the left shoulder at 20%, you're service-connected for diabetes at 40%, and you're service-connected for tinnitus at 10%, all those add up to more than 60%. You qualify for SMCS, which is housebound, okay? So you have to have one disability, not total, one disability service-connected at 100% and additional disabilities at 60% or more, okay? Now, the second part of the requirement for housebound would be the veteran's service-connected disabilities cause the claimant to be housebound, meaning that the veteran is confined to the area of his or her dwelling or immediate premises. That means they're at home 95% of the time. I mean, they may have caregivers that may put them in a chair or something or some type of restraint, wheel them out to, on their deck or porch or something like that. But the majority of their hospital care or whatever, they're coming to them. They may go out every once in a while, but 95% of the time, they're at home. And like I was stating, some of these SMCs are really bad, like the SMCR1. They're confined. They have that particular confinement. They're at home, at least 99% of the time. So those are the two criteria for housebound. So going back to aid and attendance, okay, I wanted to talk about this. There is a thing called spousal aid and attendance, okay? And I'm just going to read the M21 regulation. And again, all these M21 regulations, like the definition for SMCK and the spousal aid and attendance criteria, I'm going to leave down in the description section of this video, okay? So spousal aid and attendance reads, increased compensation is payable to a veteran by reason of the veteran's spouse being in need of aid and attendance. The spouse will be considered in need of aid and attendance if he or she is blind with corrected visual acuity of 5/200 or less in both eyes, or concentric concentration of the visual field to 5 degrees or less, is a patient in a nursing home because of mental or physical incapacity, or has disability causing factual need for aid and attendance as defined in 38 CFR 3.352 subpart A. So I did several ratings for spousal attendance based on the veteran spouse being in a nursing home. Now, when you say nursing home, there is another regulation that states it has to be like a state-approved nursing home, just not a nursing home that somebody decided, hey, I'm gonna take this building, retrofit it for patients and just call it a nursing home. It has to be a state-certified nursing home and for a mental condition. So I've seen veterans that were service-connected and their spouse had Alzheimer's, or Alzheimer's, or some type of severe anxiety, and they were in a state nursing home. You could grant, they needed aid and attendance because they were, going around. They couldn't remember where they were at, or something like that. So they needed that aid and attendance. Now, another thing to remember, in order for a veteran spouse to be service connected for aid and attendance, the veteran has to have at least 30% service connection. So if the veteran is 0, 10, or 20, their spouse is not going to be able to qualify. So that's the same criteria if you, in order to add dependents to your award. Okay, so that's the end for the spousal aid and attendance. So just a quick recap. We covered SMC K, we covered SMC K for loss of use, and we covered SMC L for aid and attendance, and then we covered SMC S for housebound. So just to recap, qualifications for SMC K is, I keep going back to my SMC book, loss of use of a hand, not hands, a hand, loss of use of a foot, 1 foot, loss of use of buttocks, loss of use of a creative organ. And like I said, when under SMCK, the majority of the time, you'll see that it's due to loss of use of a creative organ. Now, for aid and attendance, loss of use of both feet, loss of use of 1 hand, 1 foot, bilateral visual acuity of 5 by 200 or less, or permanently bedridden, or aid and attendance. And remember, A&A, which is aid and attendance, must be necessary solely due to a veteran's service-connected disability. So I gave an example of, they listed on the 2680 if it was due to non-service-connected conditions and service-connected conditions. Housebound, the veteran has to have 1 disability at 100% and other disabilities totaling 60% or more, or be bedridden due to the veteran service-connected conditions, not bedridden, I'm sorry, housebound, meaning they're constricted to their home. And also, again, remember that the veteran, in order for the veteran's spouse to be awarded aid and attendance, that criteria. But most importantly, the veteran has to be service-connected 30% or more. If they're not, and their spouse meets the A&A qualification, but the vet is not 30% or more, they won't obtain that benefit. Now, again, sometimes these regulations, as they pertain to SMCs, get updated. So this is the criteria as of today. I did some research in the M21 and 38 CFR. So always make sure that you check the regulations to make sure if there's any updates, because the VA could have added some criteria for the different SMCs, or maybe took some away. So definitely keep that in mind. So with that being said, I hope that you enjoyed this video. A couple of veterans left comments asking for me to do a video on SMC. So to those 2 individuals, please leave a comment to let me know if I was able to answer your questions, or if you do, or if you have additional questions. So please like the video, share the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the notification button so you can get notified when I upload new videos, okay? And I would also like to say that now I'm offering monthly events, okay? I did one today. I'm offering a live Q&A, 1 hour live Q&A. This event is free. It's going to be the last Friday of every month. I did one today. It went really well. Of course, I forgot to record it. I forgot to record it. So people were able to sign up through eventbrite.com, register, and I gave them access to me for 1 hour to ask me questions about the VA compensation claims process. And I'm going to do that every single month. And the last Friday of every month, I'm going to post a link to today's, the one that's already passed, so you can click on it and you can see in Eventbrite the thumbnail and the description and all that. And also, I'm going to be offering my monthly training module. I did it already for the month of May, but I'm doing it for June, and that's going to be the first Wednesday and first Saturday of every month. I think in July, the 4th of July falls on the first Saturday, so I'm going to do it. I believe it's July 11th, the following Saturday. So I will leave the link for the event for June 3rd and I believe June 6th. You click on it and you can sign up. It's a minimum of 4 hours. The one for May went about 4.5 hours. We had more questions, so I wanted to make sure I stayed on long enough. And that's going to be, I use freeconferencecall.com. It's something similar to Zoom. So you're going to see me like you see me now, but I'm going to be live, okay? And I'm going to be talking about the importance of an intent to file, character of discharges, who's eligible for compensation, what is compensation, the 5 ways of service connection. I'm going to do a deep dive in that. I'm also going to be talking about PTSD stressors, combat, non-combat, combat medals, presumptive, Agent Orange presumptive, Gulf War presumptive, Camp Lejeune, contaminated water, presumptive, diagnostic codes, examples of diagnostic criteria, examples of example wording, how I feel that claims should be worded when you're filing a particular condition. I'm going to be talking about rating code sheets, and I'm going to talk about my VA claim tips as well. So again, that event is a minimum of 4 hours. I'm going to offer it every Wednesday and the first Wednesday and first Saturday of every month. And for the month of June, I'm going to leave the link where you can sign up for the event on June 3rd and June 6th. And on both days, it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can sign up for January 3rd or January 6th. If you go to my website, kmd89.com, kmd89.com, it's going to be on there. I'm going to post it in my Facebook Veterans group. All those links are going to be in the description section. I'm going to put it on Twitter, Instagram, my LinkedIn, all that. So look forward to seeing you in those events so I can educate you even more on the different ways or the different ways of service connection and on the entire VA claims process. So again, thank you for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and share. Thank you for your service, and I'll see you in the next educational video. Thank you.